Welcome to the Investor Agent Podcast. I'm Steve Seymour, your host, where we help transform the human mindset from scarcity and lack to abundance and wealth, one conversation at a time. Welcome, guys. Steve Seymour here with the Investors Agent Podcast. Today we have Brady Carroll. Brady, thanks for being on.
Hello, everyone. I'm just kidding. This is my second podcast.
Second podcast ever?
Ever.
Nice. Well, thanks for being on. We're honored to have you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So Brady, I know that big announcement coming, you joining VRA Realty. And again, we're honored to have you as an agent as well, not just on the podcast. So definitely want to talk about that in a little bit. But before we do, why would anyone even want to listen to Brady Carroll? Tell us a little bit about your background, you know?
You asked me. You're the first person in a long time to actually ask that. So you want to know my background?
Yeah, a little bit about you and real estate, and this podcast is all about transforming the human mindset from scarcity to lack to abundance and wealth. And we like to do that through a conversation. So why would someone want to tune in and listen to this conversation?
Well, I am very grateful for the opportunity, up for the challenge to join VRA Commercial here, build something really special with you. Been a fan. We've been talking about this for a while. And your vision is very much in alignment. I'm a big picture guy like you. Absolutely love what you guys have done here. The vision of empowering human potential through pathway through financial freedom, through investing in real estate. Being in commercial real estate for 11, 12 years now, seeing a lot of young investors grow from nothing to having sizable portfolios, seeing millionaires created along the way, something that I've been very passionate about for 11, 12 years. And I feel like this is a amazing fit to join your team and to collaborate and do something really special here.
Yeah, you know when you have that feeling something big is going to happen. I have that feeling.
Yeah.
And I like it. It's exciting. First time I've been re-energized in the business in a couple of years. So, I mean, it really honored to have you. And then with what you just said, it's like, it's not about us and, just building a real estate commercial division, but what you saw people creating real wealth, life-changing generational wealth in commercial real estate. And that's what this is all about, is transforming that mindset of scarcity and lack to abundance and wealth, because really it's not about the money. It's more about what is an abundant life? What is a wealthy life? What is, life worth living authentically and true to yourself, where you're not restricted by the financial constraints in the modern day system of, basically, I don't want to say that's a strong word, but it's like modern day slavery with money, and how people are stuck in this whole system. There's not a lot of opportunities to get out of it. Commercial real estate's one of the actual ways to make it happen. Not that everyone can do it, not that it's easy, but it's like a key to get out of prison.
It's a real pathway.
Right. It's a real pathway to wealth.
Yeah, it's true. It's all about freedom. So I'm a father of 4 young children, and I learned really quickly when they were young, the first couple were young, that my priority is to be around them as much as possible for the window that I have to raise them. And you need passive income to do that. You need to build some type of machine in order to do that, to be able to coach their little league games and go to their concerts and graduations and everything like that. And why I've always been into commercial real estate as opposed to any other investment is there's no ceiling from my perspective. You eat what you kill, and there's no limit to how large you can grow it, what approach you can take to do it. And that's what I love about it. And I've seen a lot of successful people along the way. So. And
I like that, you've always, every time I've talked to you, you've always shared how important your family is and your kids, and being there at the events, being there, for your son, for your whole family. And yeah, you work hard. I know you put your hours in. You wouldn't be able to do what you do without putting the time in, but you prioritize and don't lose sight of what's most important. So I just want to acknowledge you for that, because it's a big thing. And ultimately that's the bigger success versus being really immensely successful in one area, but then having, your family life completely decimated. Right. So, anyway, let's shift back to your background and your experience in commercial real estate. So you said 11 plus years in commercial real estate.
Yep. Started my career 11 or 12 years ago with a small boutique brokerage, 5 agents in an office. We covered Delaware County, ventured into Chester County and Montgo. But it took me not too long to realize that animal is a lot of the same people stepping on each other's toes. And I wanted to expand geographically. And KW Commercial ended up being the platform, the national platform to do that. So 10 years ago, this is actually this month is my 10-year anniversary at KW Commercial. So for a decade, we built a team in the Wilmington office right along I-95, got licensed in Delaware, Maryland, New York, New Jersey, and started Crownstone Investment Group. Are you familiar with what a Crownstone is?
No, tell me more.
So the story behind Crownstone is before modern technology, and they're still there to this day. The Mason-Dixon line has these crownstones. I could show you a photo of it. It's kind of what our logo looks like, actually. They are along the Mason-Dixon line. Our business model was to have a team based right along I-95 and introduce all the investors from New Jersey and New York who are used to buying assets at a 2% return, 3% return, lower than the market down here. Introduce them to Delaware, introduce them to Pennsylvania, introduce them to Maryland, where they can get a 7, 8, 9% return. And that was our business model for a long time. And still to this day, a lot of our investors are from New York and New Jersey, and they invest in these more southern states in the Mid-Atlantic region. So that's where the Crownstone came from.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't know the meaning behind that, so I appreciate you sharing that. And you
connecting the North and the South.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know you're very intentional with your well thought out in pretty much every aspect. And us doing a deal with you, I guess 2 years ago, a partner of mine, we bought an 11 unit from Brady, and one of the biggest things for me was like everyone in this business, I don't want to say everyone, but it's almost status quo to not really have any trust in people. And like, you got to have your paperwork tight, right? But there's a certain level of like, you want to do a handshake deal with someone. Well, you can't do that in this business. And I was like, working with Brady, I feel like I could do a handshake deal. It was like, if he says something, I know it's going to happen. And I felt like that was the biggest thing to me. I was like, I want to work with this guy from 2 years ago. I knew that. And it's the best way to do business. And in the long term, when you do what you say, people recognize that and you deliver on your promises. I think that's the number one thing in any business, but especially in real estate. Commercial real estate can be very cutthroat. So you need someone with integrity that's going to follow through on their word. And I just want to acknowledge you for that, because I think that's at the foundation of your business.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that very much. It is. My core values are very much in alignment. And, I'm here today because you've spelled it out, and it's integrity is very, very important, especially in this business.
Real quick for the listeners, because commercial real estate's a whole array. I know you guys really niche down, and, tell us a little bit about how you narrowed that focus into multifamily.
Yeah, great question. And to this day, to be clear, I still am diversified. We've sold some warehouses this year. Sold an office building in media, and the last 3 deals I think were leases, actually. So we do it all. Land development. We've sold and leased shopping centers. our core business, you're right, has been multifamily because it's been such a stable asset. And earlier on in my career, when we were really building our database and getting to know the players, we focused on it because we had some really solid opportunities. And it just organically grew from there because those were the people we were talking to. Those were the assets that we were going after. So we're most knowledgeable in that department, that asset class. And it's just been really solid. We've always had the belief that no matter where the economy goes, that people are always going to need a place to live. You're always going to have the workforce housing need. So we just saw it as a stable asset class to stay focused on.
And what geographic region do you cover? And then what's kind of the size scope of the deal that minimum size to on the larger end?
So depending on for multifamily, we are within a few hours from the Westchester area, Philly area. We've sold multifamily in Maryland, Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and
you're licensed up in New York too, right?
Yeah, licensed in New York as well. But if you want to talk about single tenant net lease retail, then I've sold in many other states.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so geographically that expands. A lot of the clients are on 1031 exchanges. Neither I or they ever even visit the property or see it because you're buying an investment grade lease that just gives you monthly cash flow. So we've sold Texas, Ohio, Virginia, Illinois, Florida, all over.
And you worked on 100+ unit multifamily deals, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
It's
the smallest would be a triplex.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I have sold a couple homes just for friends and family over the years, but really the smallest investment real estate would be a triplex up to a couple hundred units.
Yeah. That's a big range right there, I know that's a crowded space to work in, and somehow, some way you've found ways to position yourself and attract owners to work with you. And I knew when I was looking at multifamily, your name came up multiple times. People were like, you got to talk to Brady. You want to get in multifamily real estate, you got to talk to Brady Carroll.
That's good to know.
And he's the guy.
Love it.
Yeah, it's been interesting when you put things out in the universe, right? And then things start lining up, and I don't know. I don't want to say someone sent you here or
he did.
But
he did.
Regardless, I'm grateful because, and I
can't take credit for it.
I want to do whatever I can to help support you and your business. You have way more experience than I do in this, but we want to be a good support and backbone for you to scale and grow this thing. And I know something big's coming with it. So
likewise, very excited.
So, is there anything you want to share about just in your experience in working with investors and them growing their portfolios, some of the challenges that they've encountered that you've been able to help them with, or even just, the mindset shift? Because a lot of people are, a lot of listeners here are probably either getting started investing or investing in smaller deals. So to take that jump, from a single family to a multifamily, it takes the knowledge, some experience, possibly more cash or other people's money, right? Ability to raise capital, but the mindset as well.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a big thing that people don't touch on. I always like to talk about it, but I know you're big on support and like making sure things run smooth, and just anything you want to share on that could help someone listening that wants to get to that next level and scale up.
Your natural, normal human reaction is going to be stick in your comfort zone. So if you took the dive into investing in a single family home and it cash flowed and it was a successful project, then you know that process, you're comfortable with it. So let's go find another house, and then let's go find another house. And it's made people tons of money, and It's a great business model, amazing model. You're right. As far as expanding into larger multifamily is absolutely mindset. It's whether you're introduced to it because you've seen someone else execute, or you're just a visionary and your imagination just knows that by economies of scale, there's more opportunity. And that's really what it is. It's taking that model of whether it's the Burr method or, buy and hold. It's taking that model and giving yourself 10 of those on one parcel, in one property. So your maintenance is most likely going to cost less travel between units, right? Your management is going to be easier to use. It's a more cost-effective way to have all of your investment properties in one place. You also have the ability to add value at a much more rapid rate because every time you turn over and increase a rent, then that's applied to the cap rate and you get X amount of dollars in value. And it's the more units you can do that in one place, the faster you can achieve that value add and grow the portfolio.
Yeah, what you just touched on is huge. And I know some big multifamily investors that that's their strategy exclusively, where, if you take a single family rental, you add $200 a month in rent, it doesn't really increase the value because it's based off of comps. Multifamily, it's all based on the NOI, right? And the cap rate.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that if you have a 100-unit building, you can increase the average rent by $200 per door. You just drastically increase the value of that building
by hundreds of thousands of dollars,
if not millions,
yep.
Right? Depending on,
the
market and the size. But yeah, so that's something that a lot of people don't really look at when they're just evaluating the building. It's not where the rents are, but where they could be. What's the potential rents?
Yeah.
So, and you always help owners market to that as well, right? Because even our building we bought, you did your existing rents, but then you did projected rents, which helped us as an investor say, we can take this thing, increase the value by making improvements, jack the rents up, and now we're going to increase the value of the building.
And the bonus to that one.
What's that?
Build another building.
Yeah, we're in works with that right now.
Yeah.
So we might be able to build, looks like 16 unit minimum, but maybe up to 30 or 40 units. We're going back and forth with the city right now.
If anybody's going to make it happen, it's you. So
we met with the mayor last week and it went well. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Love to hear it. Yeah, there's just so many different approaches that you can take, and everyone does take a different approach. Two different investors can look at the same building, and one would put X amount of dollars in and just have, nice, very clean, modern building. The next investor could look at the same property and they want all stainless steel and granite and high end, and it's just a different model.
Yep.
And there's just so many different approaches to it.
For yourself as, an investor and looking at growing your portfolio, I know you've taken down you took down a pretty big development at one point, and we can cut this if you don't want to share it. But if you're open about sharing a little bit about the deal that you did in Maryland, I think it's big for people to practice what they preach. There's a lot of people out there saying, take these vitamins, eat healthy, exercise, and they're overweight and they don't do anything, right?
Yeah.
And if we're here preaching, create wealth in real estate, buy bigger projects, think bigger.
Sure.
Economies of scale. I don't know if you mind sharing a little bit about that deal that you did.
No, sure. About 4 years ago, purchased 50 lots, a 49-unit neighborhood, really, is what it is. It's not an apartment building. It's 49,000 square foot single-family homes, all pretty cookie cutter, in a solid market in Maryland. And for 4 years, we've had really good management in place to turn over any kind of troubled tenants and get really good tenants in there. We've increased the rents tremendously. And just this year, we've put everything back into the property to enhance it. We do a couple of roofs a year. We update railings and interiors and everything, and with that many units, it's always an ongoing process. We're always adding value to it every week, really. And we've been very, very fortunate with the project. This year, we took one of the units and made it an Airbnb. And so far, that's been a massive success. We're getting 3 months of rent in half a month.
Wow.
And now let's see if that's sustainable.
You have the ability to grow that if you want.
Yeah, we're going to start one at a time.
48 more to go.
Yeah.
I'm sure you don't want to do the whole community, but.
No, but we do if it really works year round. So we're probably 6 months in. If we're working if it does, we're going to take the house next door and do it with that one as well. Yeah. And another way to increase revenue.
Yep, value add, right?
Yes, sir.
And, just think about all these different investors trying to buy maybe 1 or 2 houses a year and scale up. And it's like, well, why can't you do one deal like that? What's preventing us? And it's right here, because we all have it's not about the resources available. We all have tons of resources available. It's your resourcefulness and your ability to apply things. So you obviously saw an opportunity and stepped into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Took me a little while because it takes a lot of courage, because you have to be able to stomach that risk, right? We're talking about millions of dollars, other people's capital. I brought in some friends to invest with us, and thank God they trust us with it, and it's been a very successful project. So we're ready for more. But yeah, that's not everyone is going to have that mindset and courage to actually go out and execute. And I've been fortunate enough to see specifically some guys a lot younger than us early in my career. I would sell them their first building, and it would be, say, a 10 unit, for example, for $1.4 million. And, 5 years later, we're still working together. We're still friends and clients, and we're putting in bids on $20 million buildings now. And they just grew that from one apartment building to the next, and rinse and repeat grow. So I've seen so many other people do it that it's natural to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I'm a huge believer of just surround yourself with whatever you want to do, whatever you want to achieve, just surround yourself with people that are doing it. And I think you're so smart by building your real estate sales business around, I know, like you said, you handle tons of different types of commercial real estate, but niching down, having a specialty in multifamily, attracting those clients in, and just being the best at that. Like, you're the best in the market in this area at what you do at that. And it's so smart, because then you attract those people around you. Now you're surrounded by it. You build a fortress around you where I don't want to say you can't fail, but you're insulating yourself.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And we're having a lot of fun doing it because we're all on the same page,
Yeah, and it's not like you're jealous when these people are doing it. You're like, wow, it's inspiring. It's like if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. And that has a lot to do with, like you said, surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah. It's awesome. Well, I don't want to take up too much of the listeners' time, but I always like to ask if you have any suggestions on books, seminars, any last words of wisdom, anything that you can deliver to them. It's all about if we can add a little value to anyone that took their time to listen.
Interesting. I don't know if I'm going to name anyone that you haven't heard of before, but I'm a huge growth, personal development guy. And I have been since my second year in commercial real estate, when I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I always have been, like, when I was in my 20s, I read out of high school, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And those 2 books specifically changed my entire mindset when I was about 20 years old.
I've read all 3 of them, and I love them.
Absolutely amazing, right? And then when I was earlier on in my career,
that's funny. That's probably my top 3 books, the 3 you mentioned, in terms of like what I would recommend to people, especially for mindset.
Those are life changers. Yeah. Those are absolute life changers. If you haven't read them, those are the Grow Rich,
Napoleon Hill, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right?
Stephen Covey. And then Robert Kiyosaki.
Yep.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I didn't even really know what I was reading when I did, but I couldn't put it down, and it changed the trajectory of my life. now, who am I into? I'm a huge Ed Milet fan. I love how smart and spiritual he is. Genuine leaders is who I follow now. And sometimes I really enjoy like the more sales motivation, grittier guys like Cardone and Goggins and Jocko and
Get fired up.
I'm a huge Andrew Huberman fan. If you haven't watched the Huberman podcast or lab, or he's a brilliant doctor, and he brings me a lot of value because I'm all about health is wealth, and no amount of money in the world can buy your health. So prioritize that first, and then get to work after that.
Well, thank you for sharing all that, because whatever habits Brady's got going on, you might want to listen. He's this guy's a workhorse, gets it done. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being on today. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Very excited for this. Very grateful for it. Appreciate it, brother.
That's it. Thank you for tuning in to the Investor Agent Podcast today. We hope you found it valuable. Please tune in weekly at theinvestoragents.com.